It was past 1 in the morning when the clock on my phone flickered, its cold blue light casting shadows across the deserted bus stop. I stood there with a pizza box clutched against my chest, my fingers stiff from the icy Minneapolis wind. The streets were empty, silent except for the occasional rumble of a distant car. I could feel the fatigue pressing down on me, my legs heavy from hours of standing, my mind fogged by exhaustion. At that moment, a question echoed in my head like a broken record. Am I living like a robot, running endlessly after tuition bills and utility payments? My name is Amanda. I'm 20 years old, a second-year student majoring in economics at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. To many people, the college years are supposed to be the golden season of youth, filled with carefree laughter, friendships, late-night adventures, and dreams unfolding. For me, though, these years have been both beautiful and brutal. A survival game where I balance books in one hand and part-time jobs in the other. I was born in a small town where people worked hard and lived modestly. My parents are among the hardest working people I know, yet their incomes were never enough to cover the steep costs of a university education in the city. The tuition alone felt like a mountain, not to mention textbooks, housing, food, health insurance, and all the invisible costs of just trying to stay afloat. When I was accepted into the University of Minnesota, I felt proud, but also determined. I didn't want to weigh down my parents with debts they could not shoulder. From the very beginning, I told myself, Amanda, if you want this education, you'll earn it with your own two hands. I thought maybe I could get a small campus job, something manageable. But reality had other plans. Soon, I was juggling multiple part-time jobs: waitress, cashier, delivery girl, library assistant. Each job brought its own lessons, its own bruises, its own fragments of hope. My longest hours were spent as a waitress in an Italian restaurant in Dinkytown, a lively area near campus. The smell of garlic bread and pasta clung to my clothes even after I got home. I spent 6-hour shifts on my feet, rushing between tables, balancing plates of spaghetti, smiling until my cheeks ached. Serving taught me things no textbook could. I learned how to smile even when my body was screaming with fatigue, how to stay calm when a customer snapped impatiently about slow service, and how to carry 3 plates at once without spilling. I also learned that tips weren't just money. They were validation, a small acknowledgement that my effort mattered. But not every night ended with kindness. There was one evening when a middle-aged man, already drunk, scolded me loudly for bringing the wrong wine. His words cut deeper than they should have. I retreated to the restroom, tears running down my cheeks, staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror. Then, I wiped my face, forced a smile, and walked back out as if nothing had happened. That night, I realized something. Waiting tables wasn't just a job. It was a crash course in patience, resilience, and emotional control. Yet, amid the hard nights, there were glimmers of light. Once, a family of 4 with young children left a generous tip and a handwritten note that read, "Thank you for your kindness tonight. We see how hard you're working. Keep going." I kept that note tucked inside my notebook for months. Whenever I felt like giving up, I read it again and reminded myself that strangers, too, could see the fight inside me. By day, I worked shifts at a convenience store near campus. Standing behind the register, I became both invisible and observant. I saw rushed students fumbling for coins, homeless men buying instant noodles, and strangers whose tired eyes carried stories I could only guess at. One morning, a man handed me a $20 bill that looked suspiciously pale. My hands trembled as I realized it was counterfeit. My heart pounded, yet I forced myself to stay calm, politely telling him I couldn't accept it. He left without argument, but I was shaken for hours. From that day on, I learned to examine every bill with sharp eyes, not just money, but the intentions behind people's words and actions. But not all moments were tense. There were days when regular customers greeted me warmly, asking about my classes. One elderly woman often bought groceries just to chat for a few minutes. She reminded me of my grandmother, and for a fleeting moment, the store counter felt less like a workplace and more like a place of human connection. Perhaps the toughest job of all was delivering food during the brutal Minnesota winters. Riding my bike through snow and ice felt like a test of endurance. My fingers often went numb on the handlebars, the wind biting through my gloves until I couldn't even feel the pizza boxes strapped to my back. There were nights when I slipped on the icy road, scraping my knees, and still picked myself up because a customer was waiting. Once, after a grueling ride, I arrived at an apartment building only for the customer to open the door, glance at me, and slam it shut without a word. The loneliness stung more than the cold. But then, there were moments of grace. One night, after delivering a pizza, the customer pressed a $10 bill into my hand and said simply, "Keep the change." That small gesture felt like sunlight piercing through a snowstorm. Another time, on my way back from a delivery, I saw a homeless man sitting by the curb. My instinct made me stop, and I offered him a slice of leftover pizza. His smile, tired yet grateful, reminded me that kindness doesn't require abundance, just willingness. Amid the chaos, there was one job that felt like breathing: working at the campus library. My duties were simple: shelving books, helping students find resources, checking IDs at the entrance. Compared to my other jobs, this felt like sanctuary. In the quiet aisles of books, I finally had space to think, to catch my breath. Sometimes I used those hours to sneak in homework or simply rest my mind. One evening, a student approached me, lost in finding a particular history book. When I guided her to the right section, she smiled and said, "Thank you, Amanda. You made my day easier." It was such a small moment, yet it reminded me that even in the quietest corners of life, we can matter to someone. The library became the one place where I didn't feel like a machine, just a student, like everyone else. While my jobs consumed most of my hours, my social life dwindled. Friends invited me to movies or parties, but 8 times out of 10, I declined because I was working. On rare occasions when I joined, my mind was often elsewhere, calculating how much money I had spent that night and how many hours I would need to work to replace it. Late at night, after long shifts, I sometimes called my parents. I tried to sound cheerful, hiding the exhaustion in my voice. I didn't want them to worry. But the moment I hung up, the silence of my dorm pressed in, and I longed for the warmth of home. Loneliness became my shadow. Yet, amid the emptiness, I also found strength. I learned to manage my time like a soldier planning a mission, splitting hours between classes, work, and sleep. I learned to appreciate the value of every dollar because each one carried sweat, patience, and sometimes tears. That brings me back to that night at the bus stop. My body was trembling, my lips numb from the cold, and my heart heavy with fatigue. I stared at the pizza box in my arms and wondered, how much longer can I live like this? Then my thoughts drifted to my parents in our small hometown, to the sacrifices they had made, to the dream of walking across the graduation stage one day. I thought of the younger version of myself who believed education could open doors, who believed this struggle was not forever, and suddenly, even in the bitter wind, a smile crept onto my face. My lips quivered as I whispered to myself, "As long as I can still walk, I will not stop." If you are a student working part-time jobs, I want you to know this: you are not alone. Every exhausting shift, every sleepless night, every tear you hide in the restroom is part of the journey. These hardships are shaping you into someone stronger, more patient, more resilient than you realize. Yes, we may miss out on parties and carefree nights, but we gain something deeper, an understanding of sacrifice, gratitude, and the power of persistence. Someday, when I walk across that stage to receive my diploma, I know I won't just be holding a piece of paper. I'll be holding every late night shift, every dollar earned, every moment of doubt that I overcame. And maybe, just maybe, I'll look back at that freezing bus stop at 1 a.m. and smile. Because that was the night I learned that survival isn't just about enduring, it's about refusing to let go of hope. So if you have ever worked through exhaustion, if you've balanced school with countless jobs, I invite you to share your story. What did you learn from it? How did it shape you? Your words might encourage someone else who is standing at their own bus stop tonight, holding on to a dream and refusing to give up. Have you ever worked part-time while studying? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might inspire someone who feels alone right now. If Amanda's journey touched your heart, please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss more inspiring life stories. And if you know someone who needs encouragement today, share this video with them.